The internet is cracked, the show that asks the question, can we coexist with our creation?
Just a heads up, Tara, our interviewee, has a parrot. So if you hear any squeaking or squawking during this interview, you'll know where it's coming from.
Hey, I am Caroline Risberg.
I'm Seth Camillo.
We are The Internet is Cracked by Addicts for Addicts.
And today we're joined by Tara Allen, who is professor of marketing at Kirkwood Community College in Iowa City, Iowa. And we're going to be talking about all things internet with her today. So thank you for being here.
Thank you,
Yeah,
Seth and
thank you.
Caroline.
Wonderful to have
So
you here.
why don't you first start us out with something that's interesting? You're teaching social media marketing, but you also want them to be in control of their internet use, correct? Your students. So that's
Yes.
kind of interesting.
Yes. I want
Yes.
them to be in control and then also aware. So almost like in meditation where you're aware of your thoughts and you're aware of your actions and aware of what you hear and see in your mind. I like my students to know about how their brain works and then also know how the internet works and know kind of the behind the scenes and how advertising works so that they can just be aware um, just for their personal use and then whenever they're creating content.
What do you think the effects of the internet has been on your students? What do you see? They're between 18 generally, right? 18 and 25, something like that.
What I've seen is their time management. So getting their assignments done, doom scrolling. So just that whole term of, well, I was just sitting and then an hour went by and I was just doom scrolling. And then also the trend of people communicating instead of texting by sending reels.
Oh, okay.
Where
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
they're sending reels because they think that they're funny and they'll just kind of like send 20 reels in a row because they're doom scrolling and then they send it to someone else and then that actually hooks that other person into doom scrolling.
So you mean like sending, like I will send you a funny reel and then you get hooked on that whatever funny reel and then you start. And it is, you're right. It's very, I know that I'm guilty of that myself. Like you start, see like a few, whatever, how long it is, and it's super funny. And then suddenly it goes to next video and the next video.
Yeah.
That is, it's can be very, very addicting, I guess, consuming.
So that's interesting. Do you find a difference between your older students and your younger students?
Not actually.
Oh,
Just maybe in the way that they communicate. So millennials will just say, and above, they're not, not, I won't say use the word afraid, but their behavior is they'll tag each other in posts or they'll share a lot of stories. They post a lot. Whereas Gen Z, I'm seeing that they don't want that attention. They
ah,
want to like they might like something, but they're very careful about liking something. So they're on the other side not engaging, but still doom scrolling. So they're not going to comment or tag their friends and then they don't want their selfies on their stories and things like that. Some, but in the majority, I would say don't do that is what I'm seeing in my classrooms. Because I have other adjuncts who want their students to engage and tag each other and this and that. And they're like, we are not going to do that. And then I
mm,
noticed last semester I had like a selfie contest with Elf, like the movie Elf. So I always took like the word elf and I'm like, your selfie contest and had this guy.
Okay.
And yeah, it was no,
I
they're
love
like,
that.
we don't want to post that. We're not going to post that. I'm like, "Oh,"
Ah,
but my millennials did, and so
Okay.
the winner was a mom.
Okay.
really?
Yeah,
Really? Okay.
she did a whole, like, collaboration post and did all the things, and she's won so many contests. And also, because I teach the marketing course, they're kind of like, "Oh, okay, well, you're gonna do all the social media pages for the entire business department. So not only marketing, but IT and fashion and this and that and everybody. And so I was like, this is gonna take this is, extra duties and things like that. I don't mind. So I just created all the different platforms because we only had Instagram and Facebook. So I added all the others. And then I started just hiring student interns so that they could learn. And then I had it be student led.
Oh.
And I asked about 100 students. I did a survey in person. And I was like, what do you want to see on the social media page? What would make you want to follow it? And so we went from about 60 followers to about 300 just within the last 2 semesters because it's what they wanted. I just asked them.
Ah.
And then I had the and then the students are learning. And what I found when I'm working with the young students who are around my daughter's age, I have a 21-year-old, they don't know how to use social media. They
Mm-hmm.
don't. And they know how to navigate, but they don't know how to utilize it with, okay, let me look at my dashboard. Let me see what content is working. Let me plug this into AI and see like what part of the video is engaged so that I can create a better, more efficient post instead of spending time
Mm.
on creating all this organic content. How do I utilize the tools that I have? Because I'm very pro AI. How do I make a post quicker? This can help me with my job. This can help me with class. And so we have an AI policy per class, per instructor, and mine is very pro AI. So it's 100% green light. And so I teach them how to use it, how to prompt
Oh.
engineer, how to
That's
create.
very interesting because
Yeah.
I was a professor of film and video production. I would never. I mean, I personally would never allow my students to use ChatGPT or any of those things. That's my personal.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So you would have your own AI policy for your classes.
Yes. So
Yep.
I mean, I find this interesting. Why do you feel that? I feel it's cheating. Why do you feel like it's not cheating? I guess.
Because it's kind of like, I guess I use the analogy of a calculator. Math teachers used to think that a calculator was cheating, and now it's utilized even on tests. And I mean, I've taken classes on how to use a scientific calculator and how to utilize this. And so to me, it's just another form of a calculator. And I use it every day for work. I teach AI workshops. I also teach like AI consulting throughout the community. And one of the things when I moved here last year was for day one, I was like, where's my strategic plan for the institution? So I read the
Mm.
strategic plan, and our institution is 100 is pro AI. So I'm like, whatever my institution at that level is doing, I need to fall under that within as an instructor. And that's been a really good decision for me to do because I teach the students how to utilize it.
When you're teaching AI, like how this for me,
Yeah.
like what is it that actually you teach? Like how do you teach it?
So I probably week 1 is when I cover it, how to use it, because a lot of times the students, because there's some people that do within my student populations that actually don't like it,
Mhm,
where, they have reservations about it. And
Mhm.
so, um, they'll be put on a team where somebody has an account,
mhm.
I don't make them have one, but I want them to
Yeah,
know how to use it.
yeah.
I learned how to use it without creating an account. So I didn't even know about
Mm.
it. So what I did was, because I don't have television, I haven't watched since I was 14, and
Wow.
yeah.
Wow, what do you
You're
watch? Do
you're
you watch?
you're like
No,
everything
I
very you're in marketing. How would you even market to yourself? You've got
Yeah,
everything.
I
that's
mean,
what I
what do
ask
you
my students.
watch?
I say, "I don't watch TV, I don't listen to the radio." When I go on a lot of road trips, I'll be on a road trip for 13 hours and have silence. "So how do you market to me?" I ask them. Um and just making them think like, well, how would I, and so then we go over, this would market to masses, this would market to this would market to a target market, this is how you do that. But I am on social media, and so that's how I get all of my advertising, and I have 8 social media accounts that are all very different. One is like landscaping photography, one is crystal ball photography, one is just rock painting. So I put my
Huh.
hobbies on there and nobody knows it's me, but it helps create a community. of positivity. So I just like to spread, beauty or positivity. And
Mm.
so people will interact with me on those social media pages, but they don't really know it's me. But if I
Oh.
have enjoyment because I'm creating art, like at home, I'll go upstairs, create the art, and then I go on an adventure and I'm putting that art out there, and then somebody else will find it and interact with me, on social media, and then tell me some story about, I was really down that day and I found your rock on the beach. And this is what it meant to me. Or, you
What does
know,
that mean? They found your rock on the beach. You
so
painted
I paint
Well,
rocks, and then I go and I travel and I just go on some sort of adventure, and then I'll just place them where I've been.
and they have yours like your social media
Yeah,
account?
it'll say like at Heartfinders 51.
Oh my
And then they just
goodness.
ah,
yeah.
I like this.
Wow.
You are not private. They don't know it's you is on it. You
Right,
just have a
right.
different one. Actually, this is really smart too, because you can do your creative, like you say,
Yeah,
the stones, you're painting the stones, but you still keep your privacy in a way,
yeah,
right?
mhm,
And you're
yeah.
showing your art that people can
They can
see it,
interact with it.
interact. You're
Yep.
using the social media in a very interesting way. I really like it because it's not self-centered. Because I think a lot of people are very self-centered when they are
Yes.
using the social media. They're like, "Oh, me, me. Look what I do. Look, 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 look." You are
Yes.
actually showing it's not about you, it's about the art or whatever
Mhm.
it is. So
Yeah.
spreading love in a very positive way, I think.
Yep. And I've met, like, another rock painter. We happened to it was just a very odd way. She was from Alabama, and I was living in Tennessee at the time, and we ended up finding each other's rocks, and
Mm.
then I was happening to be going to her town again with 60 rocks, and I was doing this, it was in Rocket City, so I was doing, like, Operation Rock Drop Rocket City, and I was having so I was going to they had these, like, hidden ducks within the community, and you could do this thing as a family, and I was going there to meet my cousins and do this, like, thing, and then I was dropping rocks and these little positivity cards that you have to punch open, and then if you got a certain one, then I would Venmo you lunch. So it just
Oh.
yeah, so then it had my Venmo on there, like, "Let me buy you lunch," or something like that. So it was just this whole thing, and I got to meet that girl who we had kind of had this connection through social media. I got to
Mm,
meet her in person, and her whole family was there. So I met her father and her mother. And so that's, like, where I find the beauty of social media.
mhm,
And then, there's countless kind of stories like that. And then during the pandemic, I lost one of my best friends to a heart
mm.
attack, and
I'm
that's actually
sorry.
what started the Heart Finders, Rocks, and things like that. And I started an online gym, and I grew my social media page from 0 to 13,000,
Oh,
and I would
wow.
up to 300 people in my classes on Zoom, and I taught Monday through Saturday, sometimes Sunday. So I did every day consistently for 3 years during the
For
pandemic.
working out, you would do like a
Yep.
workout class.
Just to do workout classes, and I
I
had
just
to
want everybody to be clear. You're leaving these rocks and these notes at
yeah.
random places on the beach. And then you started now how did you start the workout? How did you grow
I
Oh,
that?
during pandemic.
through social media, in
Okay.
2020, about 2 weeks after the pandemic started, I actually lost my best friend, to
Yeah. Oh, I'm
cancer
so
and
sorry. I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
and and I was like, "What can I do to, like, prevent this?" Because it was a preventable death. And I'm like, "Well, I have a gift of teaching." I taught 28 different formats, and I don't know how I remember them. It's just, a gift, and I'm like, "Well, a gift is meant to be given." So I just
So
started this online platform, and, um and I did an experiment with marketing, actually, and I didn't know I was doing it at the time, but I created 2 pages. So I created one that was just Tara Allen 51, and I created one that was Transform Fit 51, because 51 is my number. And
uh,
I got about 3,000 followers on Transform Fit, but I got, like, 13,000 on Tara Allen, and what that just showed me was that people like a personal that people like authenticity.
I have a question. You said when you're teaching that some have reservations to use AI.
So people knew about ChatGPT before me, and so they were offering kind of like summary classes. So I was taking on a Saturday a 5-hour class that was free for me to sign up from all these like AI experts, and I'm taking notes. And before I even trying it, I'm taking notes and then I'm synthesizing all the information. So I think I took about
Mm-hmm.
15 hours of different trainings from different people, synthesized the information, and I came up with a formula that's super easy to prompt engineer to teach everybody. And so I'm like, so I just did a little bit of work and then um and so this is what I teach my students, and it's super simple. Any kind of, like, say you're just opening ChatGPT,
Uh-huh.
using the word imagine
Uh-huh.
or pretend. I like the word imagine. Imagine. And then you put your details in. And then you end with do you understand? And then a lot of times it's like absolutely. Da, da, da. So I never go into ChatGPT and just ask it or tell it to do something. And then realize that I'm creating something that I want the output for in the way that I want it. And so mine's very like super sunshine and rainbows, like, "Oh my gosh, great." It gives it's complimenting me all the time. It's super positive because I'm that way with it. I actually treat it kind of like a person, but I tell it
Mm-hmm.
to imagine, and then it starts imagining, and then I get the best output, boom. My very first time working with AI was right before I moved here. My interview was about 2.5 hours long, and I had to create a presentation for that. And I was working full time. I didn't, and I was going to be driving 10 hours. And I thought, because I had a work conference to go to, and it was kind of in a remote area in Tennessee. And I thought, oh, well, I'll bring my work computer and I'll work on this presentation all week. There ended up being no internet access, and I got very sick. Like,
Oh
just
Oh.
no.
down with something super sick. So I'm
Oh.
like, let me p they gave me a bunch of topics to choose from. So I'm like, I'm really good at strategy. Let me take what I'm good at, and I'm gonna choose marketing or social media strategy. It was literally social media strategy is what I presented on for 2.5 hours that got me the job. And
Wow.
I utilized AI, but it wasn't ChatGPT. It was called Taskade, Taskade, and
Uh-huh.
something else. Like, I think it was called Copy IA or something like that.
You used AI to make your presentation to get your job at a university.
Yeah, and AI did it like guide you what to kind of say, or you just gave you
Yeah, I just needed help. I was sick. I didn't have
right.
internet, didn't have the time. I just needed a few slides, and I was like, "Okay, boom." That just helped me get my and then I was the one that kind of it's just 5 slides is what I used. So I took all the information, I laid it out, I printed it, and I was like,
Right.
You
"Okay."
had AI create the slides.
Yep, it did.
So just to be clear, you used AI to create your presentation that got you a job at a university.
Yes.
That's very, very interesting to me. I have ChatGPT. I couldn't believe how amazing it is.
Mhm.
And I find that to be scary, and you find that to be wonderful.
Helpful, yeah, because
Helpful.
I'm able to, it used to take me a year to write a course because I've been working at Kirkwood for 8 years now, and I was working prior 7 years within management, not marketing. So I knew all the management courses, and I actually wrote one of them, and it took about a year. And um, I wrote 2 over the winter, and it took a week.
Using AI.
Mhm. Yep.
So
Yep.
curriculum for a university, your classes, you're using AI to create classes for the university.
Yep. So it just utilizes. So, for instance, I have an advisory board, right, and we have industry partners. And so I asked them, what do we need in the marketing realm? There's a list of things that they need now that are not they're not in textbooks. They're not, it's just, marketing is just so fast. Threads came out last fall. That's not in a textbook. And so,
Right.
um, the very next day I was like, "This just in, Threads, let's look at it. What do you think about it?" And we analyzed it. And so, because we didn't have Twitter anymore. It wasn't called that. We had Threads now. And so that's what I use AI for is like, okay, boom, I've got 16 discussion questions.
Well, I have to say that, I mean, what you're saying is very convincing in terms of the utilization of AI. But
Mm.
don't you worry where AI is going that your students may not be needed?
I'm not worried. I don't worry about that. Um, because there's gonna be another job that's going to be created.
Over your time teaching, do you feel like the internet has changed the students?
Change them. I think that students are actually worried about their own usage is what I found. So, I really love the younger generation and so I feel very close to them and they'll share kind of like, that they don't want to be addicted to the phone. They don't want
Mm.
to be manipulated by advertising.
Well,
You can
do you worry about your students being overwhelmed by this stuff?
I do. I do actually. And so that's why I teach them about this. I teach them how the instead of the sales funnel in because I mean I have to teach sales. I have to teach advertising. I have to teach them how to do this in industry. I have to teach them, how to be
Mm.
good at it. And so I'm doing kind of both because I also went to school for ethics. So my background in schooling is ethical leadership. And so it's not marketing, but now I'm teaching marketing. And so it's kind of like a weird thing. Like if you think of just your brain as a processor, just like a computer, an analogy of some sort. If you overload a computer, it's going to burn out and it's going to spark out and it's going to, the blue screen of death, right? You can do the same thing in your brain because you have a capacity each day for decisions. You have a capacity each day for what you can take in. And so people with so much screen time, they're going to be exhausted and they're going to fizzle out. And you're in that ability to, create decisions and original thought is kind of depleted by the end of the day if they're waking up first thing on their
Right.
screen. Um, and so I teach about that. And that's why we go into the wellness section of their settings and say, okay, well, how long were you on? You know, especially if they're saying, I don't have time to do these assignments. Okay, well, let's just check. Well, you were on social media 40 hours this week. That's a full time job.
Do you find that to be that kind of numbers, that kind of
Yes, 40 to,
high?
yeah, 40 to
Say
60,
that again
40 to 60 hours, easy.
on
Wow.
social media.
Yep. Within a 7 day, 7 days.
Those are the things that kind of scares me too,
Yeah.
because you said like 40 hours is it's being on the internet. I mean, that's a full week of work week. That's crazy.
The longer you're in there and that you're researching, the greater chance it is to get that sale. And so the
Mm.
more times I see it, the more chances I am to get into it. And so that's why those annoying ads come up because they actually do work.
How do you feel the internet has affected your students if they're spending 40 to 60 hours a week on social media alone?
They're not getting things that they need to get done, you know.
What
Making
about their mental health?
they get overwhelmed and they will have like breakdowns. So there might be crying, there might be where they don't believe that they can. And so I had a student last semester tell me that I believe in them too much. And so that made me
Right.
sad. That made me sad.
Really?
Yep.
Why did she say, oh, hey, sorry, I don't know. Why
Yeah, it
would
was
they say that you believe it, that you believe in them too much? Was that what he said?
yeah,
Or
I
she?
believe in them too much because of the um, time aspect. If you believe you can't or you can, that whole saying, you're right. And so they're like, "Well, I can't do that. I hear these excuses. I'm working full time and I'm going to school full time and I have kids and I have and. Well, if you
Mhm.
break down mathematically your time, you usually have on average 55 hours extra per week. Everybody. Doesn't matter
Mm.
how old you are. And if you minus 40 hours of social media time, well, now I don't have time.
Yeah,
Mm. That's a good point.
very interesting.
Yeah.
So what
That's really
I'm
cool.
not sure exactly I understand. What were they saying? I can't, I don't feel like I can.
Yeah, like, I can't do all these projects. So
Oh,
sometimes
okay. Okay.
I can't do all this homework, I can't do all these projects.
Because they were on their phone 40 to 60 hours a week.
Yep.
But probably not thinking that that's what they are doing. She's like, "Oh, I can't." And you're right. Like when you start
Conscious.
saying, "I can't do it," "I can't," then you also program yourself you can't, right?
Yeah, you're programming your
As
own brain.
well.
Mhm.
Yeah.
But just becoming aware of how to look at your phone usage, and that's the thing where, kids are, born with a phone in their hands, and that
Right.
out something that you said earlier, was about, how it's scary that, um, I think parents a lot of times push because everybody's so busy, and so I
Right.
think it's kind of a societal issue where this is I guess this is my only scare with AI is, well, now I can do 10 people's jobs. Like, I feel like so I was not gonna get any assistance, so AI didn't take anybody's job, but I feel like I can do 10 people's jobs. Like, I feel like that. And so that's just been able to enhance what I can do in the community. And so that one is where, yes, I feel like I have 10 people's jobs and 10 assistants, but I was never gonna get an assistant. So it didn't take anybody's job. It just helped me, help my stress level go down, help my mental health go up. So AI for me has been a positive experience. But I can see where if like just for instance, any kind of automation, like there was a time when I was younger in my 20s and I worked at a global insurance company and 300 male people, like the mailroom automated and they
Mm.
all lost their jobs.
Well, I know that even I think Elon Musk is talking about universal basic income. Actually, he's talking about higher than basic income because he says that within 5 to 10 years, AI combined with robots will be able to do everything a human can do, but better.
Yeah.
And so I don't know if there will be jobs, I mean, available. I feel like you personally have a very good relationship with the internet, but I don't think that you're the norm. I mean, as you're
Yeah, I
saying,
think it's an outlier. I do agree. I think it's an outlier.
what it sounds like to me though is that it takes this hyper vigilance on your part to coexist with the internet, and I think you've worked out something, but I don't think like when you're looking at your students doing 40 to 60 hours, a full-time job plus. I
Mhm.
mean, 60 hours is
Yeah, they could be an
a
entre
time full-time full and a half, one and a half jobs.
Mhm.
Um, I don't think they have the control that you do.
But I have a question or thought that I kept hearing. It's the memory for that that for younger children, especially because now you get so much information
Yeah, yeah.
that you don't hold your memory the same way. Like I was actually talking to a friend about this the other day that uh when when I studied when I was younger, you read textbooks and
Yes.
you wrote notes and all those books in the library and you were sitting there and blah 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 and you have to bang it in your head. And
Yes.
still today, I could remember certain things because you banged it in, right? But I was thinking with all this information that we're getting now that I can go on Google and I can ask a question, boop, it's there, and most likely it will be gone 2 seconds later. That you don't store the same thing. And I wonder about children, are they actually gonna have the same kind of memory? Is that gonna if that makes sense?
Yeah, yeah. It's really interesting. I kinda touch on this in the college age, and one of my well, before I moved here, I was in early childhood learning sciences and worked in the research and sponsor programs at Tennessee State University. And I was really interested in brain sciences from 0 to 3 and then 0 to 5.
Mm.
Um, because funding isn't usually put there. It's put in school age children, 5 and up, and a lot of times the behaviors that you see are from something that happened from 0 to 5, and so I think it's important. But the brain function like as far as memory, what I address in the college level is usually on day one, I teach students how to learn because they don't know how anymore.
So when they get to your class, they're overloaded in there, and it's difficult for them to put things in the brain. Is that what you're saying?
Yep. Yep. They are. They're overloaded. I've had people cry,
Well,
they break down and they're just I think just with the society and just how it is, kids have a lot of pressure that I didn't have.
well,
And
right.
so I have a lot of empathy for that. And I think they know that. And I've told everybody, like, don't talk about the younger generation to me because I'm like mama bear. I
Mm.
really believe them. And and they know that. And so then their defenses come down. And then I'm actually really able to see them and hear, that they have these reservations, that they do feel overwhelmed, that, they don't want to doom scroll anymore. Um, and they are concerned about the internet being addictive. And they are even concerned about their own image. And I added into my social media and business especially, I get a lot of reflections from students. So I have the data because I asked the question as part of an assignment. Are there ethical things that you're concerned about? They're concerned about privacy. They're concerned about children being like in the internet being in the hands of children too young. They're
Of
concerned
what?
about depression, especially in women. The students have told me, like I do get caught in comparison, and then they start doom scrolling because of comparison. And it could be a celebrity or it could just be a friend. And it could be this, um, one of the best examples I have is I do marketing campaigns, and I went to do one in Davenport, and it's such a great video. I create these videos for you to want to go have fun in Davenport or go have fun at this place or whatever, right? And I'm like a they're called micro influencers for the state of Iowa for the corridor. And so about once a week I go and I do an experience. I do a sales pitch to whatever campaign I want, and then I get chosen. I go do these fun things. It's just something I do as a hobby. I bring it back to my class and we analyze it. There is a point where music was perfect. It was around Christmas. It opens up to this celebrate the moments, and it's a 4-second clip. It starts with just with a 4-second clip of me jumping up and down, so excited with like such enthusiasm because I got like this bear in a claw, right? You see it just raising, and and then it goes on and then it just keeps going. But I open with that, and I'm like, what if I told you I didn't get the bear? What if I told you that that video is actually a minute and a half of me putting in money, because I really like claw machines
Mhm.
and then,
Mhm.
because the bear was right there. And then I finally got it. That's why I was so excited. And then I cut that 4 seconds of excitement to create this video. What if I told you that? Because that's exactly what happened. And they're like, oh, just to let them know that that's what marketing is. It's not necessarily always true.
Mm.
And the internet is not always true.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's it.
Because I don't post on Facebook very often, but I just posted yesterday. 'Cause I went to Scotland or whatever. Well, I broke my foot. I actually broke my foot in
Oh,
Scotland.
no.
Yeah, I broke
No.
Oh, I'm
it,
so sorry.
like, right at the beginning.
Oh,
But
no.
Oh,
I posted
no.
this up. So they're thinking, "Oh, she had this," whoever is thinking whatever. I just posted it because I like Harry Potter, so I just put, like, all the Harry Potter stuff that I experienced. But, and I'm done with that. Like, I'm not gonna do post 1, day 1, I was there
Mm-mm.
15 days. I'm not gonna do that. I just what was my favorite thing? Harry Potter. I'm done. But and then, people are, "Oh, blah," but I'm not gonna post about how I broke my foot. Yes, I
Right.
had fun, but it was really hard, and so a lot of people say fake book. It's a fake book. Um,
Yeah.
and a lot of
Yeah.
people
Oh,
aren't
yeah.
and I teach my students, like, intention. So I'm like, "What do you think my intention is for my social media?" Just based on let's just look at it. What's my intention? And then, um, We look at LinkedIn, we look at this, we look at that, we look at all the other page. What's the intention here? Because you need to have an intention
Mhm.
of what you're doing. Otherwise, it's just meaningless. And then you, like you
Right.
said, it's just this look at me, 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 me. And then it becomes, it's almost like a narcissistic culture.
I like the one fake book in a
Yeah.
way. I don't
Yeah.
think it's always so glamorous.
If we thought the internet was a big change, artificial intelligence is going to be.
That's one day from next change.
And the former CEO of Google was saying that the industrial revolution will seem so small compared to the development of artificial intelligence and AGI. And he says it's not even getting close to as much coverage as it should get, even though it's getting so much coverage.
And now I'm thinking about how social media is, how fast it is, how it goes. How does that do for kids? Us, all of us, our own images. We probably, that constantly thinking, my life is not good enough. Oh, I'm not pretty enough. I'm not this. And this is not a magazine. Now it's 24/7 all the time.
Social media is becoming more, because it's all real estate of your mind. I teach my
Mhm.
student, the internet is paying for real estate in your mind. Now, after post COVID, we have a more competitive market because things had to go online if you wanted to survive.
Mhm.
Well, if anybody needs to know about you, well, now you have to pay. Whereas before, you could kind of get through a business with free social media. No, oh, how's your advertising going to work? Oh, I'm going to use social media. Well, you're not going to last now post COVID because you have to pay for that real estate of someone's
Oh,
mind.
let's say I want to sell something. And I'm in this internet now. I have no idea what to do. How do I let's say I sell soap and I want billions of people to see it.
'Cause I actually looked at my dashboard today, and I don't do it all the time, but I looked at it today just to see, are posts doing better, are reels doing better, or are stories doing better?
Hmm.
Because on one page, because I have 8, reels are doing really well. But on the others, posts are doing really well. And on another, stories are doing really well. So I need to know those analytics so that I can say, well, I don't want to keep putting a bunch of posts on. If reels are working better, I'm going to want to make reels. And so that's saving me time to go out and live life, just knowing those analytics and making better decisions. So just doing the research, knowing your market, knowing kind of like the psychoanalytics too, like what's the behavior? What's the day in the life of somebody?
I find it very interesting that you are at once, have fears about the internet, fears about um, artificial intelligence, but yet you need to teach your students how to use that. I
Mhm.
mean, that's pretty much what a marketing class consists of these days, isn't it?
Yeah, because if they're not gonna get hired, because industry partners are using AI. I've every person I've had coffee with, I ask them the question, "Do you use AI and what do you use it for?" And then I make notes.
Mm.
And so 100% of everybody I've talked to, no matter if they're in medicine, no matter if they're in manufacturing, no matter whatever industry they're in, they are using AI. And so to me, like I'm setting up my students because because I'm at a community college. Everything is real, so it can go on their resume as far as like projects and things like that. So by the time you're graduated, you have a really nice resume of volunteer hours, of working with businesses, working with international nonprofit campaigns, local, this and that. And so getting that experience, but then also knowing how to utilize and read analytics, knowing how to make better decisions so that you can be now somebody marketable. So, um, big companies are hiring my students already even before they're graduating because they know how to do this and they can just jump into their then now they can be an asset.
Could you give us a final sort of summation of what you feel working in an industry that needs the internet, sort of the conflict of having both things occurring in your brain at one time, which is I've got to use the internet. I've got to teach my students how to use the internet, but the internet is also a dangerous place for them emotionally.
And so there's studies with dopamine. The more likes you have, the more dopamine hits that you're getting, and that's where you get that addiction.
Mhm.
And so it's really important to make sure that you know what makes you happy outside of social media and that you do those things that make you happy because you're going to have the energy to do the things that you have to do.
Yeah, and it sounds like some of your students are having trouble with that.
Yep. But they're learning how to balance that in the classes. But like you said, not every class is going to teach that.
Mhm.
Just teaching them what it does to the brain, how to utilize taking those digital breaks so that and then just I actually draw the brain on the board and show them, their connections and how they can solidify and connect with one another and then create a highway. And I'll actually draw a highway, the car and how and just like make sure it remains a dirt road and not a 6-lane highway. Just make sure it remains a dirt road. And so, and that can apply to negative self-talk, that can apply to comparison, that can apply to like doom scrolling, internet addiction, dating apps,
Mm.
just different things that can make you addicted to that. I also teach them that your time, that you can manage that. So manage your time and don't let it manage you. You do have time. Everybody has 168 hours a week. Everybody. So nobody is better than the other. They all get 168 hours. You choose to do, you're the one in control of what you choose to do with those 168 hours. And I have them turn off the notifications on their phone that they don't need. So, like, I have all my social media notifications turned off because I know that if I see it and I look at it, I've now cost my brain 15 minutes to get back to focus mode. And so, if you
Mm.
take that 15 minutes times all those notifications, now I am losing even more time because maybe I just looked at it, but I didn't start scrolling and I was like, ooh, I need to do this. So, I think the main thing is just being aware, knowing that you do have time, turning off notifications, things you don't need to increase your time, and then just being aware, taking a digital detox at least once a week so that you don't become addicted, I think is the main thing.
How long should a digital detox be?
It needs to be at least 20 consecutive hours once a week during your waking state, not your sleeping state.
Well, this is extremely good and informative. And I said earlier, I love your approach of teaching. I think it's brilliant. It really is. So I'm very
Thank
thankful for you.
Yes, thank you
you.
very much.
Have a
Yeah,
This has been
conversation
great. It's
about it.
been a great
Exactly.
conversation.
it's
It
been really
really
fun.
has. It's really great. Well, thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for watching or listening to The Internet is Crack. Tune in next week when we talk to acclaimed Hollywood producer Craig Wyrick Salarhi. It's going to be a great conversation. You can watch us or listen to us on YouTube or Spotify or many other outlets. And don't forget to follow us on social media. See you next Monday.